If you've been trading for less than 3.5 years, there's a 99% chance you're not trading to make money anymore. You've forgotten why you started. You think you're analyzing the market, but you're just feeding an addiction you don't even know you have. And until you see it, you'll keep bleeding your account dry, while telling yourself you're getting better. Let me take you somewhere uncomfortable, somewhere most traders refuse to look. Not at charts, not at strategy, but at the mirror. Because the truth about why 99% of traders with less than 3.5 years of experience fail has nothing to do with bad entries or wrong indicators. It has everything to do with a psychological trap so subtle, so refined, that you don't even realize you've walked into it until years of your life and thousands of dollars have disappeared. This isn't about discipline. It's deeper than that. This is about how your brain has quietly turned trading into something it was never supposed to be. And the worst part, you think you're in control. Close your eyes for a second and remember the very first time you thought about trading. Maybe someone told you a story. Maybe you saw a YouTube video. Maybe you were tired of your job and searching for freedom. Whatever it was, there was a moment when the idea entered your mind. Make money from anywhere. Be your own boss. Financial independence. That moment had a feeling attached to it. Hope. Excitement. Possibility. And underneath all of that was one very simple, very honest intention. You wanted to make money. Not to prove you were smart. Not to become a chart-reading monk. Not to spend 12 hours a day staring at candlesticks. You wanted profits to appear in your account so your life could change. That was it. Clean. Clear. Honest. Now fast forward to today. Right now. This moment. Ask yourself this question and answer it truthfully. Why are you trading? Don't give me the polished answer. Don't tell me what sounds good. Go deeper. When you open your laptop or pull out your phone and stare at those charts, what are you really doing? Are you genuinely waiting for a high probability setup that aligns with your plan? Or are you just looking for something, anything, to click on because the idea of not having a trade open makes you feel restless? When you close a trade, win or lose, does your mind immediately start hunting for the next entry before you've even reviewed what just happened? When the market is quiet, when price is ranging, and there's no clear structure, do you feel calm and patient? Or do you feel like you're wasting time? Be honest. Because somewhere between that first hopeful moment and today, something shifted. You stopped trading to make money. You started trading to stay busy. To feel involved. To feed something that has nothing to do with profit. This is what happens to 99% of traders with less than 3.5 years of experience. They enter the market with a purpose, and within months, that purpose gets buried under a new compulsion. The need to always be in the market. The need to always have a running position. The need to feel live, connected, active. And once that need takes over, the original goal, making money, becomes secondary. You don't notice it happening. It's gradual, quiet. But it's happening, and it's killing your account. Let me paint you a picture. You're sitting at your desk. The market just stopped you out. Small loss. Nothing dramatic. You tell yourself it's fine, part of the game. You close the trade. And immediately, within seconds, your eyes go back to the chart. Not to review what went wrong. Not to check if your plan needs adjustment. But to find the next trade. You scan the pairs. EUR USD looks flat. GBP USD, nothing clear. USD JPY maybe something forming. You switch time frames. You zoom in. You convince yourself there's a pattern developing. A tiny pullback that could be a retracement. A candle that's slightly longer than the others. Your brain whispers, there's an entry here. You just need to see it. And before you know it, you're in another trade. Not because the setup was clean. Not because it fit your rules. But because you couldn't tolerate being on the sidelines. Does this sound familiar? If it does, you're not alone. This is the reality for 99% of traders with less than 3.5 years of experience. They can't sit still. They can't let the market breathe. They treat trading like a job where being present equals being productive. But trading doesn't work that way. In trading, doing nothing is often the most productive thing you can do. But your brain doesn't accept that. Because your brain isn't wired for waiting. It's wired for action. let's go deeper. Let's talk about what's actually happening inside your head when you feel that pull to trade. Because this isn't just impatience. This is biology. When you see price move, when a candle forms, when the market spikes or drops fast, your brain doesn't see numbers on a screen. It sees opportunity. It sees potential reward. And in response, it releases a chemical called dopamine. Now, most people think dopamine is the happiness chemical. It's not. Dopamine is the chemical of anticipation. Of maybe. Maybe this trade will work. Maybe you'll catch the move. Maybe you'll be right. And that maybe, that uncertainty mixed with hope, is one of the most addictive feelings the human brain can experience. Here's the trap. Dopamine isn't released when you win. It's released when you think you might win. The moment you click that buy or sell button, before the trade even moves, your brain gets a hit. A small reward. And then you wait. And while you wait, your brain stays stimulated, watching, anticipating. And when the trade closes, win or lose, there's another hit. A sense of completion. And then immediately, your brain wants more. It's not searching for profit anymore. It's searching for that feeling. That loop. Open trade, wait close, repeat. This is why you feel uneasy when you have no positions open. It's not because you're missing profits. It's because you're being deprived of stimulation. Think about it. How many times have you opened a trade, not because the setup was perfect, but because you'd been watching the charts for an hour and felt like you should do something? How many times have you entered a position at the end of the trading day, not because it was the right time, but because leaving without a trade felt like a wasted session? How many times have you told yourself, I'll just take this small trade to stay active, knowing deep down it didn't meet your criteria? Every single one of those moments is your brain chasing dopamine, not profit. And the more you do it, the more normal it feels. You stop questioning it. You stop noticing. And that's when trading stops being a business and becomes an addiction. The scary part is that the Forex market is designed, completely by accident, to feed this addiction perfectly. It never closes. It's open 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. There are dozens of currency pairs, dozens of time frames, 1-minute charts, 5-minute, 15-minute, hourly, daily, weekly. The chart is always moving. Price is always twitching. Even when nothing significant is happening, there's motion. And motion is stimulation. Your brain sees that constant flicker and interprets it as constant opportunity. But it's not. Most of that movement is noise, meaningless fluctuation. But your brain doesn't care. It just sees movement and whispers, something's happening. Don't miss it. This is where FOMO comes in. Fear of missing out. But let's be precise about what you're actually afraid of. You're not afraid of missing profits. You're afraid of missing participation. You're afraid of standing on the sidelines while the market moves. You're afraid of feeling invisible, like you're not part of the game. This fear is ancient. For thousands of years, being separated from the group meant danger. Your ancestors survived by staying close to the tribe, and your brain still runs on that old programming. The market moves like a herd, and you're terrified of being left behind. So you force yourself in. You find reasons. You justify. And the moment you start justifying an entry instead of following a plan, you've crossed the line from trading to emotional reaction. Let me tell you what happens next. The more you trade, the more you believe you're practicing. You tell yourself that screen time equals experience. That every trade, win or lose, is a lesson. And on the surface, that sounds logical. But here's what's really happening. You're not sharpening your skills. You're dulling your sense of caution. You're getting used to risk. You're getting used to clicking buttons. You're getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that comfort is dangerous. Because risk doesn't disappear just because you've gotten used to it. It accumulates. Quietly. Invisibly. Until one day, you hit a losing streak and your account craters. And you sit there wondering what happened. What happened is that you've been training yourself to ignore warning signs, to override your gut, to trade even when you shouldn't. You've been practicing bad habits so consistently that they've become your default. Now let me ask you something. How many trades did you take last week? Write the number down in your head. Now ask yourself, How many of those were truly high probability setups that fit your plan perfectly? How many were trades you took because the opportunity was undeniable, and how many were trades you took because you felt like you should be doing something? If you're honest, the ratio is probably disturbing. And if you're really honest, you'll admit that some of your best trading days were the days you did nothing at all. The days you watched, analyzed, and walked away because nothing met your criteria. Those are the days that preserve your capital. Those are the days that separate survivors from the 99%. Here's a truth that most traders with less than 3.5 years of experience can't accept. The market will never run out of opportunities. Ever. It's here today. It'll be here tomorrow. It'll be here next month and next year. Long after you and I stop trading, the market will still be here, creating setups, offering chances. The only thing that disappears over time is traders. The ones who couldn't stay out. The ones who confused being busy with being effective. The ones who treated trading like a video game, where the goal is to always be playing. Those traders vanish. Not because they didn't know how to read charts, but because they didn't know how to sit on their hands. Let me take you inside a specific moment. You're watching a pair. It's been consolidating for hours. No breakout, no clear direction, just back and forth, back and forth. You know, logically, that this is not a trading environment. You know your strategy works best in trending conditions or clean breakouts. But you've been sitting there for 2 hours. You've had coffee. You've checked the news. You've switched between time frames. And there's this voice in your head. Quiet at first, then louder. There has to be something here. You just need to look closer. You just need sharper eyes. Maybe if you drop down to the 5-minute chart. Maybe if you draw one more trend line. And before you know it, you've talked yourself into seeing a pattern that isn't really there. You enter, and the moment you do, you feel it. That little knot in your stomach. The one that says, this isn't right. But you ignore it. Because you've already committed. And within minutes, price moves against you. And you either take the stop or, worse, you move it. You hold. You hope. You pray. And that's when you know. You're not trading anymore. You're gambling. This is what happens when you let the need to trade override your plan. You stop being a trader and become a gambler. And the difference is everything. A trader has rules. A gambler has feelings. A trader waits for setups. A gambler creates them. A trader accepts that sometimes the best move is no move. A gambler can't accept that because it feels like losing. But here's the thing. Not trading when there's no opportunity is not losing. It's winning, it's protecting your capital. It's refusing to give the market money it hasn't earned. Missing a trade is not a loss. Entering a bad trade is. Let me tell you about time frames. Because this is where 99% of traders with less than 3.5 years of experience destroy themselves without even realizing it. They trade lower time frames, the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 minute, and they do it because it feels active. It feels like they're in the game. There's always something happening. Candles are forming constantly. Patterns appear every few minutes. It gives the illusion of opportunity. But here's what lower time frames actually do. They flood your brain with noise. They force you to make decision after decision after decision. And every decision costs mental energy. Every decision wears you down. Your brain isn't designed to process that much stimulation in short bursts. You think you're analyzing, but you're just reacting. And reaction is the enemy of strategy. Higher time frames are the opposite. The 4-hour, the daily, the weekly. They're boring. They move slowly. Sometimes a single candle takes an entire day to form. There's no constant action, no rapid-fire decisions. And for a trader addicted to stimulation, that feels like torture. But here's what higher time frames give you. Clarity. When you zoom out, noise disappears. Small spikes lose their power. News events lose their urgency. What remains are the real levels. The zones where actual capital has accumulated. The areas where institutions have left footprints. You're not guessing anymore. You're reading intent. And because the chart moves slower, your mind slows down too. You're forced to wait. And waiting is the cure for addiction. Think about it. On a 1-minute chart, you can take 10 trades in an hour. On a daily chart, you might take one trade in a week. Which trader do you think has better decision quality? Which trader do you think survives longer? The one making 10 impulsive decisions, or the one making one calculated decision? The answer is obvious. But most traders with less than 3.5 years of experience can't make the shift because slowing down feels like giving up. It feels like they're not trying hard enough, but the truth is the opposite. Slowing down is the only way to start trying correctly. Here's what I want you to understand. Trading is not a job where effort equals results. You can stare at charts for 12 hours and make nothing. You can glance at a chart for 5 minutes, take one trade, and make more than someone who traded all week. The market doesn't reward activity, it rewards correctness. And correctness comes from patience, from selection, from waiting for the moment when probability is clearly in your favor. Everything else is just noise. Everything else is just you trying to feel productive when you should be doing nothing. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you had a completely trade-free day and felt good about it? When was the last time you closed your charts, didn't take a single position, and thought, that was a smart decision? If you can't remember, that's a problem. Because that means you've tied your self-worth to your activity. You've started measuring yourself by how many trades you take instead of how good those trades were. And that mindset will destroy you. Because in trading, quality beats quantity every single time. One great trade beats 10 mediocre ones. And no trades beat bad trades. Now let's talk about what happens after a loss. Because this is where 99% of traders with less than 3.5 years of experience reveal their addiction most clearly. You take a loss. It stings. You feel frustrated, maybe a little angry. And what do? Do you close your laptop, take a walk, review what went wrong, and come back later with a clear head? Or do you immediately start scanning for the next trade? Do you feel this burning need to make the money back right now? Do you tell yourself, I just need one good trade to recover? If you do, you're not trading anymore. You're revenge trading. And revenge trading is just another form of chasing dopamine. You're not looking for a setup. You're looking for relief. You're trying to erase the discomfort of being wrong. And the market doesn't care about your discomfort. It will take that energy and turn it into more losses. The professionals, the ones who survive year after year, they don't revenge trade. They don't need to. Because they've detached their ego from individual trades. A loss is just data. It's feedback. It's part of the process. They don't take it personally. They don't feel the need to prove themselves to the market. They just move on. And that detachment is what allows them to wait. To skip. To stay out when conditions aren't right. They're not emotionally invested in being right. They're invested in being profitable over time. And there's a massive difference. Here's the shift that changes everything. When you stop asking, how much can I make today? And start asking, how can I avoid losing money stupidly? Your entire relationship with the market changes. That second question sounds negative. It sounds defensive. But it's survival. Because in trading, the winner isn't the one who makes the most in the short term. It's the one who makes the fewest mistakes in the long term. It's the one who's still here 5 years from now. Still trading, still learning, still growing, while everyone else has burned out and left. You see, the market doesn't need you to be smart. It needs you to be consistent. It doesn't need you to catch every move. It needs you to avoid catastrophic mistakes. It doesn't need you to trade every day. It needs you to trade the right days. And all of that requires one thing: the ability to do nothing. The ability to sit, to wait, to watch. To let opportunities pass without feeling like you've failed. This is the hardest skill in trading. Harder than reading price action. Harder than managing risk. Harder than controlling emotions. Because doing nothing goes against every instinct you have. Let me tell you what happens when you finally learn to wait. Everything slows down. The pressure fades. You stop checking your phone every 10 minutes. You stop feeling guilty for not having a trade open. You stop measuring your day by how active you were. Instead, you start measuring it by how disciplined you were, and on the days when you do take a trade, it's clean. It's clear, it fits your plan perfectly. There's no second guessing, no hoping, no praying. Just execution. And whether it wins or loses, you're at peace with it, because you know you did your job correctly. This is what the other side of trading looks like. The side where you're no longer an addict. Where you're no longer chasing stimulation. Where you're no longer proving anything to yourself or anyone else. You're just a person with a plan, waiting for the market to meet your conditions. And when it does, you act. And when it doesn't, you don't. It's that simple. But getting to that simplicity requires you to face the uncomfortable truth. That for the last months or years, you haven't been trading. You've been feeding a compulsion. And until you name it, until you see it clearly, you can't change it. So here's what I need you to do. After this video ends, don't open your charts. Don't look for a trade. Just sit with this. Sit with the possibility that maybe, just maybe, the reason you're not profitable isn't because you don't know enough. It's because you're doing too much. It's because you're trading when you shouldn't. It's because you've confused being active with being effective. And once you see that, once you really see it, you can start to change. You can start to slow down. You can start to filter. You can start to skip. And you can start to discover that the best trades, the ones that actually change your account, are the ones you waited for. The ones you didn't force. The ones that came to you because you were patient enough to let them. Trading doesn't reward the fastest. It rewards the longest waiters. And if you're still here, still watching, still trying to figure this out, you have a chance. A real chance. But only if you're willing to stop, to pause, to look at yourself honestly, and to admit that the enemy isn't the market. It's the person staring back at you in the mirror. The one who can't sit still. The one who needs to feel busy. The one who's terrified of missing out. That person is the problem. And the moment you start working on that person, everything else falls into place. The market will be here tomorrow. It'll be here next week. Next month. Next year. It's not going anywhere. The only question is, will you? Will you still be here? Or will you be another name in the 99% who couldn't figure out that the secret wasn't in the charts? It was in the ability to close them. To walk away. To let time pass. To wait. Because trading isn't about being in the market. It's about being in the market at the right time. And everything else is just noise.